it's going to happen.
October.
Because it's not the show, or even, let's say, getting the cast together, which is feasible. Where are you going to get I don't think an audience is going to want to sit there and gather.
Well,
I may be wrong.
I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, I told you I was in a political play.
Right.
Right. So the writer contacted me yesterday that he thinks we're going live June 30th on a stage, zooming to people for a fee.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, but on Zoom, you said, right?
They say the Yankees might be in the stadium in June.
Yeah.
By what? Zoom or by regular?
No, the Yankees are going to be in the stadium, and they're going to allow 15
no people in the seats, but they're going to record it.
Oh, that's
they're showing. Yeah, listen, you don't need an audience to have a sporting event.
Yeah, but you're going to get all the actors together, and they're going to all be side by side. All those actors.
We don't know. Listen, once they lift the ban, we as entertainers could do what we want. Now it's up to the customers if they want to be in close quarters.
And the actors may not, and the customers may not, and he's wondering if he's going to get the same audience.
I mean, right now, for instance, Broadway, they're saying after Labor Day, but that's what they're saying. That's what some of the authorities are saying. People that are in theater know that's not going to happen. It's going to be much later than that.
Yeah, they keep saying soon, and then they push it and they push it.
You know, because in a Broadway situation, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you have a prop passed from one person to another? You have an entire audience. All Broadway houses are small in the sense of the seating. Even if you put one person, how do you have capacity? It's a very hard thing. I mean, I wish everybody luck. Of course I do. I'm just looking at it. Maybe not as, I don't know.
Well, I do. Sorry, Fran.
Go ahead.
I do know that they're going to come down with some sort of tax breaks for landlords when the clients can't pay the full rent. Mm-hmm. Once they're going to give the landlord such a break that they're going to be stupid not to take it.
Right.
So for the next 6-8 months, this is going to be the norm.
Yeah, I know that there's many shows already that are already booked for 2021.
Right.
When Edison had his films, when he first started his films, and before there was sound, and then they added sound, people thought, what is this? This is too different. Just like we think in terms of, because I really think there's going to be some amazing breakthroughs. We think in terms of, and every Friday I go on this broadcast, the Zoom cast with the theater, Resources Unlimited. Everyone's complaining. They all do musicals and theater and stuff, just like you, Anthony. You're held up. But I think what's going to happen is someone's going to develop a completely different way of presenting a combination of live and pre-recorded experience. And that experience is going to set everyone ablaze. And so take an example where you can combine many screens on a stage, projecting different settings and scenes and people. And it may be a blend of, so let's say you wanted to have the distancing of the actors. Maybe the actor is actually up to a screen, but like a 3D looking screen, holographic screen, and relating to the other actor that way.
Okay, but then how does the audience watch it without being sitting too close together?
They're gonna pay to attend from home.
They get it from home.
What we're doing
Those
now.
that need, or those that want that special live performance, they pay $1,000 a seat. You know what I mean? Or there's a
Is it in the
special
house?
lottery or something, you know. But people get it from, or they park in their cars out on the street and they watch it from the street if they want to be on Broadway.
Oh, like drive-through
But
movies.
someone's going to come up with, no doubt, new ways of seeing, new ways of doing creative
They're gonna
expression.
have to, yeah.
I really believe that. And I think that's where a lot of the money is going to be. And it's not just looking at Zoom and doing readings, because like you said, Anthony, how do you interact? Like if I want to talk to Kelly, I'm talking to you now. You talk to me, right?
From the other room, I can hear you, but it's not.
Turn the head the other way.
I have seen,
I know it
I've
doesn't work.
seen now Saturday Night Lives. I've seen the thing for Sondheim. I've seen several of these. It's maybe because I'm too friggin' old and I should just go away. But I've been in this business or been involved in theater for 55 years, since I'm a young kid singing in clubs. None of this makes it for me.
No, it's not the same.
None of it.
You know, this situation is not going to last forever.
No, you're right. You're right.
I mean, you know, you're talking. I mean, what Fran is saying, I agree with. New technologies are coming out. This pandemic has put a focus on the creativity of new technology that's going to be able to do these things. But we're going to, you know, the death rate is not slowed down that much. And,
No.
you know, people are talking about opening it up. I think that, you know, this thing is going to have to be solved in the next year to year and a half. Otherwise, we're going to, you know, we're going to lose. You know, you can't keep avoiding this virus forever. You know, eventually you're going to touch something and, you know, you're going to get, if it's around 5 years from now, 80% of the population is going to get it.
Stay on the technology for just a second. Then we want to go into this mother's focus. What makes...
Who is that, by the way?
That's
Because
Pat DiBuono.
You never met on a Zoom? I thought you did.
oh, I don't see him on my screen.
Oh,
Wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Pat DiBuono.
Pat's been on every show I think we've done.
Okay.
I guess I'm forgettable.
No, Pat,
No,
I don't
no,
see
no.
you on the screen. So I'm saying, how is Gene doing the ventriloquist act when I don't see his friggin' mouth move?
Gene is a genius. He can
I'm
do anything.
looking at Gene and saying, what the hell is this?
Talk about live theater for a second.
That's live theater.
Talk about live theater for a second. And I'm not minimizing the importance of live theater. I love live theater. Say it from a standpoint of the audience. The audience that sits in a seat, they see it live. They see the interaction of human beings on a stage. They see the set design from one point of view, right? One, if they got a good seat, they get a better view. If they're way up here, they don't, but they get it from basically one. They don't move around the theater.
Okay.
All right. So what if you could show, you know, you have a camera, you're at home, right? Instead of seeing, you can manipulate remotely the camera that's in that seat. So the only difference is you're not actually physically sitting in it, but everything else looks the same. So from an audience standpoint, you could replicate that from an audience. Then you could even do better than it. You could say, you're in this seat, and then in Act 2, if you want to be in this seat, you could be in that seat. You remotely go there.
It all sounds lovely and sci-fi-esque. But you know what it comes down to, too? People say to me, well, you know, why wouldn't you want to be in the comfort of your home, popcorn, watching a movie? Why? Because I want to be with people. I want to be in a theater. I want to hear humans cry, humans laugh.
Right.
I want the experience.
Yeah, but
What if you could have that?
But
at
Tony,
the same, just just let me finish that thought. You're at home,
Yeah.
but you're like in the seat. You're watching the stage,
Yes.
right?
He's saying it's
Your
not the same at all.
voice is in that theater. So you're next to someone else, and you can hear that someone else. That, in other words, you're replicating all of the people who, instead of being in the seat, they're not in the seat, but they could see as if they're in the seat. And
Oh,
they
like virtual reality.
hear.
Like virtual
Yeah.
reality.
Anyway, I think that stuff is going to appeal to you. I think
Yeah,
it's
like
gonna
virtual
be
reality,
so
like
wow.
like you wear virtual,
You know,
put on virtual glasses.
you know, I think the other thing I said, 7 years ago that the future of theater is the camera, and I said that because if you get into stuff like popular science and you look at computers, they're not really a machine; they're a virus, and the eye of the computer is really the eye of the next. There's going to be a meld between computers and people. I guess what I'm saying is that the problem we have is that we're older in life, and we have children today that are growing up on these phones, and they're going to be very happy to sit in the comfort of their home and watch things. But that doesn't necessarily work for us. What Tony just said, I agree with completely. I'm not a theater guy. I like to act, film, and television. But I will say that there's the immediacy of the theater, of being there with the audience and the connection to the people. That's different. That's different.
Absolutely.
And you can't get that sitting in your living room. But the mentality of the young people today is that they trust, people say, why are we going to lose 40, 50% of the jobs in the country to machines in the next 20, 25 years? We're going to do that because the kids that are growing up today, they trust machines more than they trust people. They spend all their time looking into a phone, texting their friends. So the world is going to change, but it's not going to change. And I sold video conferencing when a video conferencing room sold for $100,000. And in today's money, that would be about $250,000. So it's going to change, but it's not going to change that much in the next year. The world isn't going to just, be different in the next year. I think I'm really counting on this virus being cured and life getting back to normal.
I think once it's cured, I mean, I don't want to be a
We'll still be
naysayer.
doing things. We'll still be seeing each other, but there'll be
'Cause
precautions.
You know me, I like to look on the positive.
What did Kelly say?
I think there's still going to be limited activity, even though we're going to maybe go and see people. There'll be maybe 10 people in a restaurant or when you go to a store, there'll still be mask wearing. I think they're going to still be more back to normal, but not 100%,
I think that we should not think about the future and anticipate anything happening in the future, whether it's a vaccine or whether it's getting back to normal in steps or phases or whatever. Because when that future happens, something else is going to happen. There's going to be a cyber attack that's going to take down everything. There's something else. There's going to be another disease, another thing. It's just going to be a fact of life. So we should just be in as much in the moment and enjoy and make do. And if it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out. Just enjoy the present.
That's no truer words ever spoken, Fran.
Forget what it's going to be. We'll just work toward it.
Yeah, but we need
but don't count on it. Don't plan on it. Don't.
When the pandemic of 1918 happened, vaudeville was destroyed. People who were performers, a lot of them never recovered, those variety performers.
Right.
And there were always a grouping of people 20 years later, performers, who were waiting for vaudeville to come back.
Right.
It never did much, right?
Things change constantly.
Right, things change. So
nothing like this.
Let's be open.
Nothing ever like this has happened. ever.
You know, in 1918, during that flu, that was very bad. Philadelphia went to go back. They went back early. They reopened.
Right.
They
The
had
end
a
of the
big
war.
Parade. They had
The
a
end
big
of the
freaking
war.
Parade. And then 5,000 people died as a result.
It was worse than ever. The
They're
second
going back.
wave.
You
It
know,
wasn't
so,
going back, right?
so
Fran, you mean they went? They thought it was over, and then they went back, and then more people
yeah,
died.
there was only certain areas of the country, just like it happening now, like Texas and stuff. Philadelphia, there was like, I don't know what parade. They wanted to have a parade because I don't know.
It was because it was the end of World War I.
End of World War I. So they had this huge parade. They said, no, you shouldn't have the parade. You shouldn't have the parade because the virus isn't, or the flu isn't gone yet. No, it's gone. It's gone. They went, they had it, and 5,000 people, you know, they had scores of thousands of people at the parade.
It was all over because people during the summer, it started to come down, and they got antsy, and people started to come out. Then once World War I ended, they had all these big parades, and the second wave was so much worse, it was ridiculous.
Well, that's what Fauci says is going to happen.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Of course, I don't have anything, and I've been a pauper all my life. So this economy bullshit doesn't mean anything to me. Anything.
Right. So
what I'm saying to you is, I, at 173, are holding on to whatever years I have left. So I'm not going outside. I'm not doing it.
you know, I'm just trying to change your mind, Anthony. That's all I'm trying to do.
Like
Pete
that.
Lander.
I'm trying to
I'm
say
Calabrese. I'm
So am I.
Calabrese.
my 4 grandparents were Calabres, all 4 of them, all from Cosenza. They're all like in the same area. Today, for example, my chest, I have walking pneumonia. Okay? I had it for a month and a half. Now, this morning I woke up, I had pains in my back and my chest. I'm not breathing right. They told me that I was negative for the virus and stuff, but I was on antibiotics for 5 days. That was a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago. So now I thought, maybe I should get this checked out. A couple of people.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I made an arrangement today to go check it out. The doctor I'm talking to on the phone today from my place.
Dr. Vinny Boomba?
What?
Dr. Vinny Boomba?
Vinny Boomba. Vinny, but Vinny's a girl. Vincenza. She said to me, but in a very nice, she's had a very sweet voice and everything, you know. She's probably, 35 years old, 40 years old, right? She says to me, well, no, it's probably not that. It's probably not the virus. So I'm thinking, good. She says, it might be, though. It might be a blood clot.
Oh, making no better.
And it might be arrhythmia, you know, it might be like the heart related, you know.
Oh,
so,
better.
yeah, I think you got to get the check. But she started off saying it's probably not, it's probably not the virus. You probably had the virus. You're over it. But maybe it's a blood. So all of the things I had been worried about in the morning or yesterday kind of went out the window. It's like, you know, who knows? Life is short. Let's live. Don't worry about the future.
That's why we should be going out.
You don't worry.
When are you going to the doctor?
Tomorrow
Morning.
Good.
You know, I have like you guys have the gift of gab, right? So they tell me, well, you can't. You gotta call. They're gonna call you back in 24 to 48 hours. Cool. No, I gotta speak to somebody now. You know, they gotta speak now. So anyway, I arranged it where they're gonna call at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm gonna go to New Rochelle. They're gonna do a chest X-ray on my lungs. So I know whether I have the pneumonia still or not. And then I'm going to make an appointment with the cardiologist that I was planning to see down at Mount Sinai, but never got to see because of the COVID scare. Because when I went into Mount Sinai, they stopped me, they screened me, and I probably had the virus at that time. And that's when they examined me, and then I had walking pneumonia. So anyway, so everything got put in like different perspective. And then my friend Tony calls me up, and he's in a very cheery mood. And Tony says that he had the best 2 weeks that he's had business-wise in months. And it's because people have the kids at home. They want to have the kids have animals. He owns a pet store.
More people, did you hear, Fran, more people are buying pets?
Yeah, more people, right.
More people buying pets.
So he's happy. So I'm happy that he's happy. But guess what? A year from now, he's not going to be happy. You know, it's up and down. Like, just let's say la vie, you know, it just let's go with it. That's all. Let's not worry about it. Let's just go with it.
Easier said than done, but let's say it.
Really, not to worry about it. I mean, I worry about it enough to book the appointment. Worry about it enough if they tell you that could be a blood clot, but not worry so much that you end up bringing on a heart attack. You know what I mean? Like,
smart.
Just think this is going to work out. Anthony, you'll probably develop a way to do Priscilla in a way. I think you will. I think you will. You're going to get so frustrated you can't do it. All right. Anyway. All right, come on. Let's talk about our mothers. All right, let's go.
Mother's Day.
The hell with them.
Let's start the show. Okay. Can we go to 8:15 since we started late?
Yeah.
Go to 8:15. Guys,
I could do 8:15.
You do? Gene, can you do 8:15?
Oh, I got another podcast I got to do at 7:55.
Okay.
So
And can you do, Pat? Can you do, and PJ, can you do
Sure.
8:15? Kelly, you can do 8:15. All right, good. Let's let Gene go first. And then I want to, after Gene goes, I'd like to play a little clip from a film that PJ made about his mother that I saw at a festival. And I'd like him to talk about that. And some of us have mothers who are alive, like I think, well, Kelly does.
Yeah.
And Anthony, you do. But Pat, you don't, right? Your mom's not alive, right?
No.
No, and PJ's isn't, and Gene's not, and mine's not. So, anyway, so we're going to mix it up a bit. So, Gene, can you talk about your mom in any way you want? Any way you want, but a way that maybe you haven't ever before.
Well, I'm 54, and I think I've explained my mother millions of times, so I've hit on every possibility of describing her. But this goes in conjunction with Anthony. My mother's favorite saying, "This too shall pass." And we survived the dinosaurs. We survived the volcanoes. We survived every obstacle for thousands of years. And we will survive this. However, if you do not change, you will die like a dinosaur. So it's not the way we want, Anthony. It is the way it is. So we have to find a happy medium. Do I like doing shows in my living room to 2,000 people on Facebook, but the only 2 people that have seen me is my wife and my niece? No, I don't like it. I hate it. Because nobody's employed. I feed off of audience energy. You guys know this.
Yeah.
But we do what we must do as performers. And my mother's, that saying, "This too shall pass," has gotten me through every obstacle in my life. And I know everybody says they had the greatest mother in the world. But my mother would have stood over my body while I held a smoking gun and said my son didn't do it. So we all got our favorite. Our moms are all our best friends. And I posted something Sunday because you guys don't know this, but I inherited my niece because my brother couldn't raise her anymore, and she was out there, and me and my wife took her in, and we never had children of our own. So on
tell
Mother's
her she's grown.
Yeah, she's 22. She moved in when she was 19. And she's a great kid, but she's a third body in a house that was built for two. And on Sunday, I posted Happy Mother's Day to those who became mothers by choice or by design. And my wife became a mom by design by accepting my niece into our home. Accepting her into our life is one thing because she's our niece and we accept our family. But to have a third person at the dinner table and a third person using that one bathroom and a third person using the milk, it takes a lot. So I believe mothers are not just biologically mothers. I think it's a feeling. And I want to applaud the mothers by choice and the mothers by design out there. And I hope other than us six could hear that because
I have to say something about that, Fran. Can I say something?
Well,
Okay.
you should ask Jean because you interrupted Jean.
okay.
Jean was, about
He had
that?
another point he was making.
Oh,
Kelly.
sorry. I'll
That's
be quiet.
That's okay. So that's my thought. And I see my wife I see my mother in my wife, and I see my niece in my mother. And it's a great thing to know that certain traditional values and things will live on through generations.
Jean, how has Paulette, I think probably very well from what I see, but how has Paulette sort of assumed that role of mother? You know,
Well,
being
like I said, I wouldn't have posted it if I didn't feel that my wife rose to the occasion
right.
of doing that. And it, you know, it's we can never have children. You know, through a medical problem, my wife a few years ago was unable, and we spent all our savings, and we decided not to buy a house because why buy a house if we have nobody to give it to? So we stayed in this little cottage and we enjoyed our lives in cars and trips. And then all of a sudden we have a 20-year-old thrust upon us that we would accept lovingly and knowingly. And Paulette has been a rock immensely. And you see it. And, you know, Gina is a special girl. And hopefully she takes a little bit of Paulette and a little bit of my mother and she puts them all together, and then she's got her own personality. You know.
How does Gina's mom is alive, right?
Gina's mom lives in Florida with her other sister.
Oh, with her other sister. So
And,
Anthony and Gina's mom were not together then.
No, they were not together.
Okay.
And by
So really,
whatever happened,
Paulette is like a gift from God for Gina, really, right?
Paulette is a gift from God from everybody, for everybody. My wife, I've made millions in my life, but I've lost millions as well. And my wife is on a even keel. She doesn't go this way. She doesn't go that way. She is even. And she takes what happens and finds the best way to deal with it. And we get past it. And every night when I'm pulling my hair out because I don't have 100,000 in the bank and I lost my restaurant, I lost my gigs, and my wife grabs me by the face and goes, "This too shall pass."
Right.
And I get through it. And that's it. Yeah, Cal.
I recently spoke to I haven't spoken to her in a few years, and I decided to call her my meditation lady. And then she sent me a meditation group reunion thing. And it brought me back to the message of my Sahaj Yoga Indian meditation, that we all have this innate energy in us, and it's all a mothering energy. So even if you're a man, it doesn't matter. We all have this mothering, naturing energy inside of you. If you're actually a mother or you're not a mother, or just a person, a sister, brother, man, woman, mother, not mother, anybody in this world, we all have this motherling energy inside of us as human beings in general that the meditation helps bring about. So it takes the mother energy that we all have innately, and it brings it out in us, so then we could do it show that in the world, the good quality of that mother energy. And everyone has it. Guys have it.
How do you define that mother energy? Like, what is there about a mother that's different than an aunt or a father, or what's special? I mean, I know mothers are special. What is, in your opinion, Kelly? You have a mother. Lori's a wonderful mother.
Unconditional stuff they would go overboard to do. They would bend over backwards to do stuff, even when they know they don't necessarily want to do it. They'll do it anyway. My mom goes out of her way for me. God knows what hour I ask her to pick me up or whatever. And even though she wants to pull her hair out and she's pissed with me, she'll always, 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 always be there for me, no matter what. I know some mothers have given up on their kids, but most mothers don't. And they're always going to be there to the very end. They may say all these horrible things. I don't want to be there for you, but they always are. They're always just there.
Unconditional love is a very big thing.
No, and always just being there, even though they don't want, even though they know it's like, maybe I shouldn't be there. Maybe she should learn a lesson. They don't do that. They say they should learn a lesson, or they say they can't be there, but they always are there. They always, well, I'm never coming to help you out again. You get to learn for yourself. But no, mom has always run to the rescue for me, and she always will. And I can't use it, because then as kids, use that sometimes against them, and we always depend on them, or we use that as a crutch. Oh, mom will bail us out, you know? So we can't always use it like mom will bail us out.
Okay, beside unconditional love, right?
Well, that's a little more than unconditional love. That is always being there for someone.
Always being there for someone. Reliability, really.
That's
right?
basically, yeah.
And unconditional love. And Jean, about your mom, before we move, about your own mom, are there elements of Paulette's mothering of Gina, or your relation to her as like a pseudo mother, or a mother that you see in your own mother, or what is it, or what is it about your mom that you didn't get to tell her enough of during her lifetime?
There was a 9-month period when I didn't speak to my mother over a girl. I was going out with a girl 20 years older than me. I was 21 at the time. And my mother gave me advice, and I turned on my mother. And when I got back to talking to her, I begged her forgiveness for causing her 9 months of agony. Because right or wrong, I was her son and I didn't talk to her. When my mother was on the verge of dementia, I sat her and my stepfather down, and I brought out a notepad and I wrote, "I'm sorry and thank you." And I had them hysterical crying at the table. And my mother said, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Because before you lose your mind and you don't remember me anymore, I want you to know I wouldn't trade you for another woman on the planet." And I think it was 2 days later, she slipped into full dementia. And we kept her home. And the barometer for putting her in the hospital was me. When she didn't remember me, we knew it was over. So we kept her home 2 years through the cancer. She beat the cancer. And then one day I walked into the house and I said, "Hi, Mom." And she says, "Who is it? I can't see." She had a good coma. I said, "It's your son." She said, "Who?" I said, "Gene." She says, "I have a son named Gene." And we picked her up off the couch, brought her to the hospital. She died 11 days later.
Oh.
In the comfort of Calvary.
Yeah.
But I was the barometer. Not her granddaughters, not her other son.
Right.
So I knew I was special to her.
Yeah.
So that comforts me, knowing that she forgives me for stupid things. See, Kelly, your mother will always forgive you for doing stupid things if you learn.
She has.
Right. If you do something intentionally, you should not be forgiven. But my mother knew every mistake I made with her was out of stupidity and being immature. And my mother forgave me. And that's why I could sleep at night, because I believe I was a good son when it counted.
And you got closure with her before she became.
I did.
She
I
couldn't
did.
remember you. We got
I did.
closure, and it was very good. You did.
I needed to do that. I needed
Very,
to do
very
that.
good.
Yeah. I know I can't stay long. I'm sorry, everybody, but
Right.
I'm not doing anything Friday night. I'm doing a concert on Facebook and Instagram to raise money for the pediatric programs that the Kiwanis Club pays for in Long Island. So, Fran, would you mind if I email you the flyer?
Yes.
I'm not asking anybody to donate. If you don't have it, please tune in. No, because we're all suffering. But
Of
I did
course.
one about a month ago.
Get me the flyer. Do you have the flyer with you right now, too?
Yes.
Hey,
Hold
Gene.
it up to the camera. Hold it
No,
up to the
I'm
camera,
gonna do this. Watch. I'm gonna do this.
because I've got Facebook Live people watching here now.
This is the flyer, and it's on Facebook under Dinapoli Stone Mill and Instagram under my name, Gene Dinapoli. And I did one about a month ago for a blind organization. They wanted to raise $500. We raised $5,300 in 2 hours.
It was a great show, too.
Thank you. I'm very proud to
Really
be
good
picked
show.
for that. I got picked for this. So we're not looking for anybody to do anything that they can't. Tune in, clap along with me. I do a lot of fun songs. I'm not Anthony Valbiro. I'm not gonna sing like, Pavarotti or anybody else. I'm a terrible singer.
No,
But I'm great at it. What?
Can we get like a threesome between you, Fran, and Anthony? We'll get a song.
Can you please rephrase that?
Please, you got a threesome.
Can we get a trio?
There you go.
A threesome. It sounds good.
But if you have nothing to do Friday,
But
tune in, and my wife will be manning. If you want to hear a song, Fran and Kelly, you're always there for me.
good, and I'll post it up also.
Great. How do I send
And
it?
I'll spell out the name for them on Facebook and stuff. Dinapoli, Dinapoli,
Right.
of Naples, right?
Of Naples, right. So I'm sending
But
it
if you're
to you.
here are you here for another few minutes?
Yeah, sure.
I'd like you to see this clip, since your mom died of cancer. I'd like you to see this quick clip of PJ's from his film called
Rockaway.
Sunset.
Now, where is PJ filming from?
My house.
Oh, you have a stage in your house?
I do. I built a 50-person stage in my basement, and I have a bunch of Mexican kids who come out. Fellas, come on out, sing this.
PJ,
That's the background.
Oh,
isn't
he's
it?
kidding you. He's kidding you. We
PJ,
got a
That's the
virtual
background.
PJ, it's indigenous people.
indigenous people.
Indigenous people.
PJ is a great actor and comedian, phenomenal, and it's done a lot with film and this medium here and stuff. So I saw him on a stage. Where was it? In Cutting Room, or was it in Las Vegas?
Cutting room.
Cutting Room. I was on the stage, and he said, "Fran." I look around. He says,
I remembered him.
I said, "PJ, wow, I haven't seen him in years." Like, PJ helped me out in the beginning when I was doing comedy. We were at a place called the Grizzly Pear on McDougal Street. The Grizzly Pear on McDougal Street. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, I remember. That's
He
where I
was
met
at
you.
the bar. I walked up to him at the bar, and I knew he was running the room in the back, the comedian room. And I says, "How do I get in that room?" He says, "Well, what do you got?" So I gave him like 3 or 4 jokes. He laughed, and he says, "Well, come back next Saturday," or something like that. You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that, yeah.
And so then I didn't see him then I was there back
For like 10 years.
for a long time, right? At Grizzly Pear for a while anyway. And then I hadn't seen him for years. And then I see him on this stage, and I didn't realize that. I mean, I should have realized that he was the guy in the film. The film was about his mother, and that whole evening, every film I saw hit so close to home. His film was about his mother. There was another film about a brother. There was another film about a father. Every film was like it was Anthony. It was like it was psychic stuff happening. They were in the room with me that whole evening. So anyway, so let me play a little bit.
How long is the film? I want to stay for it.
No, we're only gonna play like 7 minutes. We'll play the trailer.
No, not 7 minutes. He's going to play less than 60 seconds. But Gene, if you want to see it, I'll send it to you.
I do. And I want to talk to you about comedy. I'm opening up 3 comedy places in my cousin's restaurants up in Westchester.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm doing music and Fran and plays, and we're bringing everything back. And Anthony, you got a job. I need a dishwasher.
There you go.
Let me see
There you
the
go.
trailer.
All right. Let me go to switch share.
The trailer's like a minute.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up. I had it on.
It's to the left. Second one to the left. Upper left. See the Rockaway? Yep. To the right. That one.
And we're gonna play the trailer. Is that right?
You gotta move it up more. I can't see it.
That, and
Well,
then,
I'm gonna do the full screen here. Once I play this.
look at you, technical wizard.
Imagine.
There we go. You have the sound.
Your type of lung cancer is one of the most
Oh, it's
aggressive forms I've seen in the past 20 years.
So what do I get, a reward? Maybe
it's not running fast enough.
Right.
Ah,
Hey, it's going.
life.
It's a little.
yeah.
You'll send it to me?
I'll send it to you. If you,
Thank you.
thank you.
I got to run, Fran. I'm so sorry.
Bye,
Okay.
All right, Anthony.
Bye, Gene.
Anthony,
Bye,
keep the faith, Anthony.
Good to hear
Take
you.
care.
See you Friday, guys.
Don't forget with that comedy that I want to be in there from the get-go.
What? I don't know. I can't hear you, Fran. What? What? Sorry.
He always puts you in.
All right. Now, I'm going to, maybe my stopping it when it plays now, if I bring it back, it
I
won't,
think it's
it
slow.
won't stop.
See,
Your type of lung cancer is one of the most aggressive forms I've seen in the past 20 years.
So what do I get, a reward? Maybe a trophy? My whole life washed out to sea.
Ma, you gotta take it easy. The hell's the matter with you then? What are you, crazy? You have to pay attention.
I'm gonna do whatever the hell I have to do.
Earlier.
They took everything, right?
Look, kid, I'm not ready to go anywhere yet.
What are you doing? Hey, get back here. I wish I could have made it in time.
What do we do now?
I'm sorry if it
Yeah, why is it all
plays
slow?
smoothly.
that's all right.
Let me,
You want to play my gangster, me beating up a guy? Not that one. That one, yeah.
this one?
Yeah,
This one?
sure. See if that works.
In South Boston, survival depends on the code of the streets. It's kill or be killed.
Whoa.
And when Kenny Colleen bites the nose off Mickey Dwyer, a
Whoa.
rival gang member, it's a declaration of war. The
Whoa,
gangs that run
man.
Boston's South Side. The Killeems and the Mullins are enemies fighting for turf.
Oh, boys. That's great.
Heavy duty.
Well, I guess you were right. Then I definitely should have sent you the clip, because then if the clip, that would have been.
Yeah, the clip wouldn't have happened. But I didn't know that. I mean, I wish I knew that. But okay, I want to play. Let's talk about your mom, PJ. Let me get back to full screen here.
The last person in the world that has AOL.
Yeah, still they all mail. I don't.
Oh God! Wait! Stop screen. Stop.
Hey,
There we go.
The first commercial I ever auditioned for was for AOL.
Really?
And I went down there. They were in downtown Manhattan. I had to audition for it. And I said to the woman, I didn't know you guys were still in business.
Still.
Hence you.
Oh, man.
And you didn't get the job.
Well, the casting director loved me, but she said, well, I'm going to submit you, but we'll see what happens. But
Right.
she called me in for other jobs, but you know how commercials are. I mean,
Yes. You go.
PJ, I want to ask you about your mom. When maybe you had already told me this, but when she got cancer, how long was she in her own home?
Yeah, she spent most of the last year of her life in her home. She died in 2015. She told me in August of 2014 that she was sick.
And then what did you do?
Well, it was kind of a strange news. My mother and I have always had this like incredible relationship. It's only been her and I, right? I no father, no brothers and sisters, very close relationship. I'm 52, so we grew up in the 70s, and she was very into telling me about her life. We were that type of relationship. So it was very close, and she called me up to tell me, I knew she was going to see the doctor, and she called me up and she said, well, it's the worst news. It's stage 4 cancer. And before I could answer, she goes, hold on a second. I have to put my underwear on.
Ah!
Oh, that's so.
Back on the phone, I'm hysterical laughing, because as a comic and the way we've been brought up, the way I do it. And she goes, I tell you the worst news ever. And
You're hysterical.
I said, Ma, you just told me the worst news. And then you said, I got to put my underwear on. And we start laughing like crazy for like a good 2 or 3 minutes. And then she told me that, she goes, you're not going to believe this. It's stage 4. I told the doctor, what happened to the other 2 stages, And she was totally shocked, and so was I. And then, I went with her to the doctor, and my ex-wife at the time still is. She's a nurse, and she was an oncology nurse. So the doctor's saying all of these things, and they're basically saying she probably has about 3 or 4 months. It's that severe. It's so small that we're going to try treatments. We're going to try everything, because she wants to stay alive to see my youngest son, her grandson, graduate. But they're telling me, looking at me, doctor, my wife, going 3 or 4 months tops. It's no way, right?
And then what did she do with that? What did you and her do with that knowledge that she had a limited amount of time? How did you live your life differently, or she lived her life?
I think when you ask that way, I'm not sure what she did, in the sense of, when you find out you have 3 or 4 months to live. I don't think it was anything that I think I was calling her more a couple of times a day. I was trying to get over to her, because she wasn't dying sick. She was up and about. That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that fucking pissed me off, all of us, when it happens. When that person gets sick and you can't believe they're sick, and they're not showing any signs, it's like not fair. When I hear people talking about this disease, like they're saying that it's not real and that it's a fake and that, and I have it from so many different sources that I cannot not believe in it. I have 3 friends who died from it. I have 2 friends that went to the death, almost to the death, and came back. I have a kid that's been running around on ABC and NBC the last couple of days. 18-year-old has that new disease, and he was in almost a coma, came out of it. You know, so I don't like when people say, you know, that this thing isn't real. But going back to when you see somebody that's healthy one minute, and I'm sorry, and then not the next, it was a kind of strange thing. So I tried to get my kids over there. They were, 17 and 19 at the time, and try to get them, make her feel good, take her out more times. Like I would normally see her a couple of times a week. So now I brought it up an extra time, but when you talk about
was there anything you told her during that period of time that you hadn't told her, that you were withholding or you were bound, and you then felt that you really needed to tell her, came clean with, or anything like that? Or maybe not. Sounds like you had a wonderful relationship with your mother.
I did, but it was very tumultuous. I can't pronounce that word. I never could.
Tumultuous.
Thank you. And when you say at that moment it didn't happen, right? Because what did happen, she kept getting she wasn't getting weaker. She kept going. So they expected her to be dead by let's say September, October. She kept going, and the treatments that they were giving her weren't knocking her on her ass. It was radiation.
Strong lady.
And she was a 5'10", 200-pound woman, and nothing was taking her down. We actually went back into December into the place where she got the chemo, and the woman at the desk had her head down. She goes, "Can I help you?" And when she looked up, she went like that. She goes, "Oh my God, Mrs. Lander." She goes, "Yeah, honey, I'm still around."
Wow. Feisty.
Yeah, she was a feisty woman. She was when you talk about having a mom, Kelly, and how important that woman is to you. My mother lost her mother when she was 15 years old. And you're talking about, she was born in 34. So you're talking about 1949, 1950. And back then, now that I found out now about it, because I actually did a one-person show about meeting my father for the first time at age 29 called Searching for Pop. And I realized what my grandfather did to my mother. So I understood how things were. Basically, he remarried, and they didn't want her living in the house. So they put her in a boarding room across the street and live across the street. So you can imagine 15, 16 years old, you lose your mother. Hello. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. She loses her mother and her father, basically, to another woman, so her whole life was searching. So when you talk about regret and everything else, I always now, I don't want to get too emotional about it, but I recognize that she never felt loved, no matter how much love I gave her. And I gave her so much love. I overpoured it. I probably became not like a helicopter kid, but she was my whole life. She was my whole life completely. And, I guess I got when 1980, when her father, my grandfather, died, that's when I really got nervous. I was like, holy shit, it's the two of us and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm 13 years old, So I always tried to show her as much love. We had a little disrespect for each other for many years as an adolescent and things. And we had a very adult conversation. If you were to hear us talk, you would not think that we were mother and son. You might think husband and wife. I don't know, that many people recognize that, that's the conversation. And going back to the regret, if anything, is that when she was dying now, so now I always laugh about this. So now we're almost a year later. We're talking, this was in August of 2014. Now we're in May and June of 2015. and she's exhausted. She wants to die, but she can't die because the energy's still there. She's on Percocet and what's the other drug? Painkiller, you know, the oxycodones. And her body is popping them every 4 hours. The body, you know, because when you're on it that many times, the body tells you what time it is, you know? So I'd be sitting with there and she goes, oh, I think it's my medicine time. I go, no, you got, and I'd look at the list and I go, oh shit, you're right. So I felt that these drugs were really keeping her alive. They were making her move, the oxycodone, killing the pain, killing everything. They finally said to her, look, it's probably a good idea to go to a hospice. And we went to a place in Brooklyn on the waterfront. I can't think of the name of it. Very nice place, if you would. And she went in there in August, and she never wanted to take morphine. She was always afraid of it. She said, oh, I had morphine when I was a kid, and it never worked with me. So she never liked morphine. The doctor said, look, take a little tiny bit. It'll make you feel better.
Right.
And that night they gave her that medicine, and I saw a complete change. You know, I don't know if
I was on morphine it wasn't for a long time, but for a good month. Well, I was hit over the head with a bat, and my head was fractured in 14 places.
Wow.
And there was a lot of damage. You know, a lot of.
Tell me you were 30 years old. This was years ago.
Yeah, I was about 30 years old when that happened, and so I was on morphine, but morphine that was another story. But so the morphine was good.
Right. Well, I mean, it was good, but you know, in war, like I'm a veteran, not of combat or anything. I did a year and a half full time, and then reserve for the rest. We were trained what the morphine is to do. It's to really make the body just relax, and I saw this change in her immediately. And I left that night. The next day I came back and she had a higher dose, and she was much more relaxed and she understood, you know. Yeah. And I had made a video for her of a whole bunch of pictures to the Neil Diamond song, Shiloh. I can't think of it right now. I'm blanking out. But anyway, I put all the kids' pictures. My kids, I have two sons. And I put all our pictures, a bunch of my pictures, a bunch of her family pictures, in a little movie with his song, and you know, and she was watching it and she was crying, and I could see her like letting go, and you know, I just said to her, you got to know that I love you with everything I have. And like you would protect me as a mother cub against a grizzly bear, I would give my life for you because I love you. And like a night or so later, you know, she finally passed. I was with her, kind of, sort of. I was in the room. There was like a little room like this, and then there was like a little room you could have a bed in. And I had gotten there at like 3:30 in the morning because I was working as a Teamster. And when I got there, they had just changed her bed, and she was like kind of coherent. And I said, hey, what's up? I'm here. She goes, oh, good. I love you. I'll talk to you in the morning. And I went in and I stayed up till about 5 o'clock. And then about 7 o'clock in the morning, the woman knocked on the door and she goes, Mr. Landers. I said, yes. She goes, she's gone. Oh. I said, what? I jumped up. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? She's gone. And I jump out because it's in a room, and I jump out, and there's 3 women there, and my mother's gone. And I'm just had woken up. I go, what the fuck? What happened? What are you talking about? And I immediately realize what has happened, right? It's not like she's on a monitor. You know, it's not. What has happened is it probably at 7 o'clock when the girl came in doing her hourly round, they found out she passed, you know.
Yes. Probably peacefully in her sleep.
Of course. You know, however, I'm hoping that, right? I'm hoping she didn't have some sort of major issue. But with morphine, even if she did have a major heart attack or a stroke or what, there was no pain she was feeling. So, but I realized immediately, like, after this crazy man, 6'4", 250 pounds, jumps up, what do you mean? I immediately composed myself. I said, ladies, thank you. I understand. Please let me have a moment, you know. And I was just looking at her. I took a picture of her, and I called my wife, and I called my very good girlfriend of mine, and everybody came over. But I got lucky that I had, 48 years with her. She only got like 40 with her. Her father and their relationship wasn't great. I had a great relationship with her. I'm happy to talk about her.
Yeah, it's great, PJ.
I wish she was around now, because she would have loved to be ripping into Trump. She was a lifelong Democrat. She put me into things like, I'm here with you guys now in this entertainment thing we're doing, that we're all artists because of her. I was a tap dancer at 3 years old.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow.
Great.
I was a tap dancer at 6 years old.
We may have to do a second edition, but
yeah.
Thank you so much, PJ, for sharing all that. That was really wonderful. I'd like to also, but it's our time, and so I want to go to Anthony first, and then to Pat. And
really, PJ's story was amazing and very touching and very focused. And it's interesting about different similarities, and I'm going to make this very quick because, I was a tap dancer since I was 3 years old.
Wow, isn't that something?
From my mother, who was an amazing choreographer and a tap dancer. And my relationship was similar, even though my father died at 50. She was 44. But there still is. My mother will be 93 on May 22nd.
Wow.
And she's in the throes of dementia. She still knows me because her life force, as with your mother, is so strong, is so unbelievably strong. She doesn't even, I said to her, do you realize how old you're going to be next week? She goes, no, I forgot. I said, you're going to be 93. She went, no, I'm not. I'm going to be 80.
I like her number better.
In any event, what I'm saying to you is I understand that kind of karmic relationship. I do. Because even though my father was there, it's really been my mother and me, and very much like a husband and wife karmic thing. The minute my father died, I was a totally overprotected child, and we've had quite the torrid relationship my whole life.
Sure.
Right.
But still,
and
the creativity levels, the show business connections, the artistic connections still exist through the thread of every single day, sometimes every hour, something will come up. And the relationship changes. As I told Fran earlier, they change. There have been times where we have fought so hard that my throat would be raw. She has shown me enormous pain in my life. Not physically, well, once in a while, pulling hair, all that bullshit, but really more emotional pain than you could possibly imagine. And at the same time, I've defended her my whole life because I've karmically known her. I know her. I will always know her more than anybody else. And I believe that we also have had many lifetimes together in other lives. I completely appreciate what she's taught me to be able to go forth, go down the roller coaster of creativity, dare myself to do anything creatively.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Beautiful.
And you guys got to get together. You share so
yes,
many,
because there's many
things. Yeah.
many similarities.
many similarities, and on the creative end too.
Yep.
Very deep and wide, you know. And
Mhm.
let's hear from. And I know Anthony's mother. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing your mother, PJ, but
First of all, my mother would have loved you because, and I didn't want to take up Patrick's time, but let me just say, like, I've been around all sorts of different people my whole life. You know, like, Fran, I told you, remember the person in my neighborhood? Remember the story I told you?
right.
You're not, no offense, but you're nothing special. I've been around somebody, you know, and we had two very close people, the two people that she had, young kids in the house, gay dudes, you know, to this day, they're like, I've had so much experience around her. And like, she was like one of those people that could really help, you know. But when you talk about the same thing, she was a little, you know, with all that pain. Now as an adult, I realized the anxiety she had.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of anxiety, the kind of stuff where she would take something and throw it at my head, you know, like, you know, that kind of anger, you know.
People that have a lot of creativity and also who are very smart, like both of your mothers, and like my mother, and I'm sure like Pat's mother, like Kelly's mother, they're bound to be those explosions and stuff. You can't have the one without the other. You know what I mean? Like it's
Wait, can I say something about that explosion you just said?
Yes.
The explosion. Okay. There was a point my mom was so frustrated with me.
Why don't you pull back a little from the screen?
Frustrated with me because I'm a big collector and my mom is a big feng shui person. Me and my dad are exactly alike. We're both Taurus. My mom is different than both of us. Totally different. That's why, more or less, she's not living with us. She couldn't live in this house the way we have it decorated. If you see behind us, she has like 3 things in her house, not this. So she got very fed up of me collecting things. And I did some positive stuff with collecting. I had a store that I sold my stuff at, but she said she was going to move away for good. And I was so upset because that's the last, even though I caused her all this heartache, it was the last thing I wanted her to do was move away for good. She was going to go to Florida with her mother because she didn't know where to go and where she could afford right away. She couldn't afford anything right away. So she quit her job of 15 years and she went. She only ended up going for about 2 months because even though I was the person she was running away from, she couldn't stay away from me for too long. She told me that even though she ran away from me, she cried the whole way down listening to her favorite CD. She liked Dido, so she played Dido the whole way down, cried the whole way down. And she didn't speak to me that much when she was down there, but I did reach her a few times. And I begged her to come back. And first she was like, no. And then she realized, yes. She came back because even though I messed her up, screwed her up, she came back for me. And she says that I was the reason she came back for, and I was the reason she left. So she couldn't get rid of me, or she didn't want to get rid of me after all. But I caused her so much pain to have to go that way. And yes, and people say now, do you still see her even though you don't live with her? Yeah, I see. Well, before the corona, I saw her like 4 days a week, so I still saw her all the time. She lives just in Mamaroneck down the road, but
you both love each other very much, and you're being 2 different people. You're 2 very different. You always try to match up or sync up, and it's just very, very, very difficult when you're 2 different kinds of people.
Yeah, because my mom is not like so much into. She appreciates that I'm creative, but she's not gonna sit there. When I was younger, she went to my shows and stuff, but now she don't really come to my shows. Dad's the one who claps for me. My mom claps for me, but in the background, she's not one to like go out of her way to come to a show of mine. She's a different kind of person. She loves me and Dad both, but sometimes we're too extroverts for her. We're too social for her. She's a little more reserved. Lovely person, but more reserved. But my point is that even though I'm the one that pushed her away, I'm also the one that brought her back, you know? So it's kind of ironic, you know?
Yeah. Very good point, Kelly. Pat, can we talk about your mom? You know what? I don't know anything really about your mom. I don't think we've ever spoken.
Not about my mom.
No, not about your mom. You
Yeah.
know, but that's kind of unusual, no?
Well, you know,
we know each other pretty well.
We know each other pretty well, but to be blunt, we've really never sat down
Right.
outside of plays and film and that kind of thing.
Parties
Yeah.
that they have,
Yeah, I grew up in my mother was divorced. My mother was when my mother got divorced, I was the only kid in school that had a divorced mom. People didn't know what divorce meant back then. My grandmother, Italian-American grandmother, got divorced in 1961. They had to fly to Mexico to get divorced. And then there was another kid in school that got a divorced mother. Back in those days, you were really looked down upon when you were divorced. So anyway, so she was, I lived with my mother since I was pretty much 6 or 7 years old, because my father, had moved out and so on. And my mother was the type of mother that would do anything for you. I got waited on hand and fist. Usually family members would get jealous of the attention I would get. In other words, I can remember my cousin saying one time at a dinner table, when she would put the food in my plate, she goes, "You gonna cut it for him too?" So she was a mom that, did a lot. She worked, she was a waitress and a hairdresser. And so I didn't spend a lot of time with her in terms of doing things, but, she was always there for me. I just wish if I could go back in time that I would have been meditating back then, because there was a lot of tension between my mom and myself. And I was rebellious. My mother was very controlling, to say the least. She was a great person, not the kind of woman you'd want to marry. She had her issues. So, I saw a lot of that. I just like to say that my mother was getting sicker and sicker. She had a lot of surgeries. She had arteriosclerosis, problems with her arteries in her legs, her kidneys, in her neck, and her heart. She had a quadruple bypass way back, when that was a serious operation. And so what happened to her was that basically she had all these surgeries, and she was going to the point where things were getting really bad. She did not want to go to the doctor. I forced her to go to NYU. And the cardiologist at NYU that she saw after the interview, where she says, I'm on this, doctor turns to her and says, "You mean to tell me that you're on all this medication, which is almost the maximum of what a person can tolerate, and you are at complete rest for hours, and you're having ongoing chest pains?" She said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I'd like to wheel you right from here into the operating room and do it, but we can't do the operation until we do an angiogram." And she did the angiogram, and then she went back for the angiogram, and she, "I'm not having this surgery." And she walked out of the hospital. The doctor said, "Well, if you walk out of this hospital, you're probably not going to survive." And she went home. We took her home, drove her home. She was on the couch. At that point, I moved back in with her. I was taking care of her. And that lasted about 10, 12 hours, because about 3 a.m. in the morning, I hear her. She wakes me up. She says, and she's in the bathroom. I thought she was having stomach cramps. I called the ambulance. She was having a coronary. And what happened was that they took her to the hospital. I went there. By now it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, and the doctor comes in at Portchester Hospital and says, "This is a coronary. I don't know if your mother's going to make it." And then about an hour later, I see all this commotion, and then everything stops, and they come out and they tell me, "Your mother's died. Does she have a living will? We could keep her alive on a respirator, but she's gone." Now I'm sitting there devastated by this whole thing. And while I'm saying I don't have the paperwork, but I know she doesn't want to be kept alive, about 10 or 15 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden I see all this commotion. I run back there behind the curtain in the emergency room, and they're giving her the boom. They're waking her up. So she comes to life. She comes to life. I swear to God, after 15 minutes, she's sitting up on the couch like, Miss Party. Oh, now by then her friends have come, because it's like I don't know what time it is now, but it's in the morning. And I'd called my aunt and she called other people. They wanted to see her before she died. She's got a whole party around her in the emergency room. We're like 8 people and we're having a party. She's sitting up. I said, are you okay? And she says, I feel great. What are you talking about? Now they got her all drugged up, right? With all the drugs. And we're actually sitting there having a party. Telling stories like this. We're telling stories about when I was 5 and things she did. And then they left, and we took her back that night. And then I got to say this: I thought about what I was
back home that night. Took her back home.
No.
Took her back home that night.
No. She went into the ICU.
Oh, okay.
She went from the emergency room into the intensive care unit.
Okay.
And she's in the intensive care unit, and she wants me to. I think she went to the intensive care unit the first night. She survived an entire 2 days. Then the next morning they put her in a regular room, and I went to see her. Of course, I was living there, but when I left the last room, she wanted to kiss me goodbye, and her face was all full of food that she was eating. She was trying to eat. I knew that was a mistake. They should have never given her the food. Her angiogram showed that her artery had closed to the point where it was almost like monofilament fishing line, like 12-pound test. The doctor did not know how she was surviving, but she walked out anyway. Anyway, we're sitting in the hospital, and she says, well, you got to kiss me goodnight, tell me you love me, because you never know when we're not going to see each other again. And
It's all right, Pat.
You better pass.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So anyway.
Pat, it's just the 3 of us here. Just feel comfortable, bro.
Yeah.
So the last thing, so I didn't kiss her goodnight. I will admit that part of that was because her face was so sloppy. And then I went on about how we're going to get her better, because I don't know how to give up. I just don't know how to give up. So I don't know how to let things end. I keep fighting and fighting and fighting, and I wasn't going to give up on trying to save her life. And I also was very much afraid to say goodbye to her at that point, because I didn't want to be any implication that she was not going to be there. And she says, because the mistake I made, since there was some tension, a lot of tension between us, especially at the end, was I wasn't good. I'm not a lovey-dovey guy. Nobody's going to accuse me of being lovey-dovey. So I'm not the kind of guy that would, kiss her and tell her I love her and that kind of thing. And I didn't that night. And I left, and, not thinking she was going to die. And then the next morning, I woke up about 8 o'clock. I got a call from the doctor. And then he said, your mother died during the night. And I feel very badly that, I didn't tell her I loved her and kiss her that night, although I had told her other nights. But it was just a very sad thing. The only thing good I'll say that came of it was when she woke up after she was dead for 15 minutes, you got to see a whole bunch of her friends and family that, she got that last thing. And I asked her I said, Ma, I said, they told me you were dead. You're out. I said, did you have any life, what is it called?
Afterlife.
Yeah. Life review.
No, when we have this, you see God and you come back or something like that.
Right. Near-death experience.
Near-death experience. So I said to her, she said, nah, because I didn't feel anything. It's like, it was just like I woke up in the morning. It's just like you get up in the morning and you feel good. Right. So we got no words of wisdom from her. But
Pat, I think you've told her tonight, because you said you were missing, you may have missed telling her, you know, that specifically that you loved her and kissed her. But I think you really did that tonight. You know?
Thank you.
Means a lot to me, too. It's my mom. Thanks for sharing, Pat. It was really extraordinary share on that. Where we went over, so I'll make mine brief. Maybe I will show this little clip here. Let's see, where would I have put it? Okay, I'm going to show just a minute clip. Oh, here it is, right here. This is very poor quality. But my brother was going. Actually, let me move this out of the way. I got to share screen for this, right? My brother was going to Italy because he was HIV positive and knew he only had thought he only had a few years to live. So my mother was dealing with the fact that her younger son was going to die soon. And he was trying to live it up or do the traveling that he didn't do, you know, during the other parts of his life and stuff. So anyway, so he's on his way to Italy. And this is outside my side door. My brother's gone about 15 years now.
Franny, get that stuff off the screen.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I gotta hold on. I gotta bring.
Just close that up.
Yeah. Well, wait.
You can lower it. There you go.
A lot of junk here. A lot of stuff. And even plus I got all the other stuff there. Now wait, share screen. Okay, I did. Now, I have it up here. It's gonna come up right away. Let's see. Oh, I just lost my thing. Let's see. Here it is right here. Oh, where'd it go?
You got to come to the lower left. Yep.
Yep.
And then bring that up so we can see it.
Right.
And then full screen that after you press play.
Well, you're pretty good, PJ.
I'm trying.
I'll say something. I don't know if that came out before.
Hi.
Come on over here.
Russian, we just came back from shopping.
You get your son.
We're going to go home and finish packing. And he's all sick. He's going to have a good time. Right?
All right, great.
We're going to have a good time.
I'll say something. I don't know if that came out
Came back from shopping.
You get your son.
We're going to go home and finish packing. And he's all sick. And he's going to have a good time. Right?
All right, great.
We're going to have a good time.
There were clips about him going to Italy. But anyway, I don't know, it played double there, but that was my mother putting on a very happy face. She was very happy that he got to go to Italy, you know. But there was this overhang of him going to die. And then after he died, let me,
Anthony's trying to sing a song.
What's happening here?
You know how you love that red shirt, Grandma?
Oh, this is.
You wear that red shirt all the time,
This is the video playing somehow magically. I don't know where it is. But anyway, let me.
All three of our mothers are haunting us right now.
That's Kelly talking with my mother.
From beyond?
From beyond. Because where is it? It's not on the screen. It may be over here.
It's below. It's.
This is for you too. This is for me.
All right.
All right, I'm going to shut this down here.
Do a.
Oh my God, hi. Hello, Merry Christmas.
Oh, Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Wow, I didn't know you were here today.
Listen, go to the share this.
That's okay. I don't need to say. So anyway, when my brother died, we went to Central Park, which had a what do you call it? An AIDS memorial, AIDS walk. So I got about 30 of his friends and stuff, and my mother was there, and she knew all my brother's friends. So I wasn't as friendly with them because I wasn't involved in the gay community, you know? I mean, I knew them, I liked them, but I didn't really know them. Meanwhile, lots of them were at my mother's house, you know, so she knew them better and stuff. So anyway, she was there, and one of his friends pulled me aside and said, "Why is your mother walking like that?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, she's shuffling her feet. Why is she shuffling?" And I says, "I don't know." He says, "That could be a sign of Parkinson's." Wow. And that's exactly when I went home. I checked it out online. I brought her into a doctor. She had Parkinson's, and she suffered with Parkinson's. It progressed pretty quickly for like about 8 years. And while she had Parkinson's, my father had Alzheimer's. So they were both, so it was my grandmother died, then her sister died, then my brother died, then they were both sick. And through all of that, my mother had a smiling face on most of the time. She was so pleasant. She always looked for the silver lining, always positive thinking. It was all my life I thought that this is how women were, you know, because the women around me, my grandmother, my aunts, were all those friendly, happy. And even though the men sometimes in their lives were harsh with them sometimes, or controlling or domineering, the women were phenomenal. And my mother was the epitome of that. My mother was an incredible, incredible woman. And she could do anything. If the washing machine broke, she would, even though my father was an auto mechanic, my father can handle things too, but she did it. Living room needed to be painted. My father would go out to work. He'd come home. It was painted by the time he got home. She would do anything. Plus, she was an artist, painter, and she could do really anything. And she was very good with people. Anytime I ever met anyone who found out I was my mother's child, they looked at me like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky. You're Ellie's," at that time, either son or daughter or whatever. Wow, that's it. And I then would talk with them about how they knew my mother and stuff. And it would always be. So it was really, when she died, even though she was sick and had care 24/7 pretty much for several years, she still, I would walk into her house and the caregivers would be laughing because she was telling them, not necessarily a joke, but she just had a funny way of looking at things, you know. They all had a good time with Ellie, you know. And then one night I went in, I was a little late getting there. It was about 11:30 and I went there to get the mail. And instead of going in through the kitchen door, I went in through, or the living room, I went in through this one other door, and I went through her bedroom. And normally, when I went into the room, if she was sleeping, I would kiss her on the cheek and not wake her up. But sometimes it would wake her up, and I didn't want to wake her up. So I didn't kiss her on the cheek. I walked past her, and I walked into the next room. The aide did wake up. It was about, midnight or so. She gave me the mail. I said goodnight, and I walked out the other door. And I walked into the car, and then about 4 o'clock that morning, Jennifer, the aide, called me and said, your mother passed away that night. So I didn't give her, like you, Pat, I didn't give her that last kiss, you know? And I always thought, well, I didn't give it to her because I didn't want to wake her up, you know? And that was, in my case, what it was, not because she had food on her face, you know? But I always felt like, oh, I should have, you know, that type of thing. But then I got past that, and I felt always that the last 10 years of her life, I had a much closer relationship with her. And I got to really appreciate her mothering, her wonderful way. And I just took it for granted throughout my whole life that I had this magical mother. I just assumed that's the way it would be for me to have this wonderful mother. Very, very rarely ever argued and stuff. And then when I got older, I realized that was very exceptional.
About Grandma, Fran?
Yes. And so I still feel her presence. I just want to share this one quick story, Kelly.
Franny, after you finish that story, I got to do an 840 thing. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll make it real quick then. I'll just jump right into this story. When my mother passed away, in that same room that she would spend most of her time with her aide, I went there the day after she died, and I started cleaning. I just felt I needed to clean out. Death had been hanging in the air for years. So I started cleaning stuff out. I pushed a button on a little radio that was on the shelf. My mother's name was Eleanor. People called her Ellie, you know, but it was Eleanor. And I was going to play a little clip, but we won't do that now. There was a radio. I pushed the button on the radio to see if it was on, to know whether I should bend down to unplug it or not. But anyway, I pushed the thing, and it's on. And it was WVOX, which is the station that I have which is this station that we're on now. All right, actually.
We're on the radio
I
now?
think we're on the radio now, simulcast. I think.
Good time.
Good time. Supposed to be. Anyway, I pushed the button, and I hear, comes out of the radio at the beginning of the song, the beginning of the best part of the song, Eleanor G, I think you're swell, and you really did me well. You're my pride and joy, etc. By the Turtles, you know, who had Happy Together.
Great song.
That was a great song, Eleanor. And I'm standing there going like, this is not real. I pushed a button, and now I'm hearing Eleanor. And I called to Kelly, who was in the next room, right? And Kelly, come here, come on, videotape this. What, Kelly?
Tell him what the song really, what kind of song it was.
Okay, so the song goes 2 verses. It sounds like the Turtles.
No.
The next verse starts, all 4 of my grandparents were Italian. My mother she was born in this country, but she was Italian American. The next verse that comes out is in Italian.
Oh,
so it went from being 100 million to 1 coincidence to like 4 billion to 1 coincidence. It was definitely a sign that then I called up the radio station because I know the number because I'm on that same station. And the guy, Lou Mealy, who runs the Italian-American show on Saturday.
You know him.
I haven't listened to this show in 25 years, but he recognized my voice and name. So I asked him, I said, Lou, how did you choose that song? And he says, I can't explain it. Usually I play Italian songs, but that song just popped into my head. And wow. I said, I know who popped it in there for you. And so, PJ, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, PJ, and thanks for your story.
Coming on, and thanks for sharing about your mom. It was really
nice to see you, PJ.
Thank you, and I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
Thanks. See you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Pat. Thanks for Now we have one more thing in
But Anthony didn't say goodbye. He just left.
Anthony probably had to leave for some reason. So maybe,
Yeah, of course he had to leave.
you know, he had to leave. Kelly, do you want to say anything at the very end about
Grandma?
oh, I want to say.
Wait, you've been talking.
I only talked for like 45 seconds.
And before when I was out of the room. Okay. My mom even admits this, that my grandma who's alive, who's 92, she was out. If Pat doesn't know the story at all. She was, when I was like 3 years old, she moved to Florida. So, and she came back about 7 or 8 years ago, my grandma, but the main part of my life, my mom's mother was not here. She lived in Florida. So mom knows that even though she's my grandmother, she's not the grandma that your mother was, because your mother was in New Rochelle. I saw her every day. She was even, when you used to have to bring her to the dentist, she would say, is Kelly coming to the dentist? And I'll be like, Grandma, it's only the dentist. She's like, no, it's not fun going, but when you come into the dentist, I'll make it a whole lot more fun. So I would even go to the dentist with her.
They had an unbelievable relationship.
She was like an older version of me. She was exactly me, and she was into everything I was into. But my grandma that I have now is not so much she's my grandmother, but she got sick kind of when she came to New York. She kind of that's when she first started having Alzheimer's. She wasn't diagnosed with it, but we think she had it then. She's diagnosed now with it. So I didn't really know her the good part of her life. I knew her. We went down to Florida for once a year.
This is your
mom's
mother.
Yeah. So I didn't have the same relationship. So she's still my grandmother, but I can't say my real grandmother. She's my grandmother, but my mom even knows that she even, not nice to say that, but she knows her mother was not the grandmother that my grandma Sisco was. My dad's mother was such a different kind of grandmother. She was like, I saw her every day, every other day. I slept over there. We did everything together, hours on the phone, every hour on the phone. Like we did every little thing together. And my mom was in my life, knew grandma. She knew my grandmother for as long as they've been married, many, many years. So my grandma knows what a great person my grandma was and what a great person my grandfather was. So she understands when I say that she was the grandma I really had. It's unfortunate I didn't have that same relationship with my other grandma. It's unfortunate, but I just didn't. And my mom, when I said it, I didn't mean to be rude, but my mom, she knew exactly what I meant. She's like, yeah, she wasn't as the grandma that Grandma Sisco was. No one was Grandma Sisco. She did everything for everyone. And you know what? She had a blast doing it. She would not trade doing everything for everyone. She wanted to do everything. Now, how much of a chore it wasn't a chore for her. She wanted to do it.
Part of it too, Kelly, in fairness, to Grandma Wilson, part of it was that Grandma and Grandpa Wilson moved down, as you said, to Florida.
I said that, yeah.
And they didn't see you grow. They'd see you once
a year, once every 2 years.
They didn't see you growing up. So just like
I know
with any other person, they didn't have the relationship, And it's understandable.
Same here, she had Alzheimer's, so.
Yeah, I know. So.
Well, I was just going to say what you just said is so true, because it doesn't matter that someone is a family member. If you don't have regular connection with them, it's like these people that hire these detectives, you know what I mean? With the orphans to find their real parents, and then they find them. And there's like no, they find their mother, but there's, you know what I mean? There's
a total disconnect there. There's not.
The total disconnect. There's no ability really. And you know who was like that? Who was the singer that wrote Back to the Garden? Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Well, she had that.
Yeah, she had a daughter, and she put a daughter up for adoption, and she tried to reconnect. They reconnected for a little bit, then it fell apart. So I never understood that. I could never put a daughter up. But anyway.
Yeah, that's hard. I was gonna play. We didn't have time, but John Lennon wrote a song called "Mother."
I don't think I've ever heard that
song. Yeah, I'll send it to you when we get off but it's Mother, you never had me. Mother, I never had you, and you never had me. And it's a very sad song because
He didn't have a mother? He didn't have her?
His mother, the father left or died. I think the father left, and the mother couldn't handle him, and then gave him to the mother's sister, and he was raised by his aunt.
Really?
Basically, yeah, John Lennon. And you know, the song Julia is about his mother. Half of what I say is meaningless, but I say it just to reach you, Julia, Julia. And it's about not having been able to reach his mother.
Wow.
But the song Mother is when he was going through primal scream. We've all had different relationships with our mothers, you know, and probably in doing this show, the Crisis Help Show, I had like an aha moment about a couple of weeks ago when I was saying we focused on different strategies to deal with crisis, like silver lining, positivity, spirituality, reaching out to others, expressing yourself, all trying to deal with crisis. Then I realized that probably more important than all of those isolated things, or any therapy, or any meditation, or anything, or hobby, or art, or whatever, is love. You know, love probably beats it all. And then that was a couple of weeks ago, I said, wow, how did I miss that for 12 years doing this show, that I never focused on love? Maybe it comes in here and there, but not directly on. And then I thought, and then Mother's Day the other day, I thought that's really it. As far as a mother's love, for most of the world, a mother's love is the thing that gets their children through a lot of crisis, you know. And blessed are those who still have their mothers, and there's time still left that they could reach out to their mothers and love them, and the mother will love them back.
They're the greatest thing, and they don't last forever.
Yeah, right.
But no relationship lasts forever if you think about it, because, you know, that's the human.
Well, there's only one certainty in the world, the universe, is that nothing remains the same. You know, but I'll tell you a quick story about love. You know, once I was free of my mind for 15 minutes, and I achieved the state, which I had mentioned on one other crisis show. I achieved getting to the place where they call non-duality, or isness, or oneness.
Right.
Okay, where there's not two of anything, and you just realize the universe is very expansive. And you know how I got there was that I was playing in a big pool tournament up in Syracuse. You know, the professional players and everything, and you know, I could play pretty good, but I had lost my cue stick. I left it on that's a whole nother story, but I lost part, and it got stolen, and it was a custom-made cue stick. It was 4 inches longer than the custom-made cue stick I had to use now because I lost the other one, and it was also 4 ounces heavier than the one I'm now forced to use. Like trying to play softball or baseball with a stick ball.
Right.
I'm playing in this tournament.
I'm a pool player. I know.
Okay. Yeah. So now I'm playing they put me naturally on the front table. So, you know, I'm playing and everybody's around me and I'm playing really bad. And, you know, I can't blame it all on the cue stick, but, you know, I'm not comfortable. My stroke is all different and I can't play. And I walk out of there. I end up winning the match, but I played so poorly.
How you won though?
Yeah, but I got really lucky to win it at the end, and I played poorly in front of 2 world champions. They were watching me, and I go back to I'm walking back to the hotel. I'm staying in the hotel, so I walk back through the lobby. I'm up in my room, and I'm lying there, and I'm just saying I need to be drugged. You know, I should call a doctor and get some kind of medication to. And I just learned to do this meditation technique. And normally I wasn't very good at it, but for today, the stuff is draining out of me. Like I'm letting it go, let it go. And like loads are being lifted from my shoulders, which is not usual for me at that time. And all of a sudden it dawns on me that the universe is crying because my cue stick is so light, right? You know, that this is a problem for the whole universe. And then I'm thinking, well, why would the universe even know that my cue stick is light? And I said, well, it's crying because my cue stick is inadequate, right? It's just inadequate for this job. And as I keep letting go, and I'm getting lighter and lighter, I realized that the universe is not crying because the cue stick is so inadequate. The universe is crying because I'm so inadequate. And then I started letting go of my own inadequacy, and I came to complete self-love. And that's what took me into the state of non-duality. I just loved myself completely for that moment with no judgment. And I got there. And then when I got there, I said, oh my God, you know, I never thought it would happen. I've read about it 1,000 times in songs and in books and at seminars. And basically, if you love yourself fully, your mind will shut down completely and you will be immersed in the present moment. It's all the non-love that keeps your mind active and keeps you focused on the past and the future. But for that one moment, I was able to do it for that period of time.
And I'd like to, that's a great story. And I'd like to complete this show by saying that same feeling of self-love is achieved by many people because of the love that they're given by their mother. And that there's some mothers that could make their children feel so important and so loved that they could get to that feeling of oneness. And out in the world, when you look and see many of the people who are disgruntled or having such a hell of a time living, and then you compare it to the other people who are happy, and a lot of it comes down to how they were raised by their mother and what relationship they have by their mother. So I'd like to close that out there. We've gone longer. I want to thank everyone that was on the show. Pat, I want to thank you very much. It was an extraordinary share that you had. Kelly, as usual, you're really phenomenal. And someday we'll have a show about fathers too, you know. So, and
grandfathers, how about that kind of?
Hey, hey, Fran, I found out something about my grandfather on my father's side. He was an old Italian guy. I didn't know much, but I'm not going to say it on the air.
Okay. All right. You know what we'll do? Maybe we will do a father show, and then I'll share a story about my grandfather's. There's a hidden secret about my grandfather's brother and stuff that came to light by my brother. Anyway, and then I want to thank Gene Dinapoli. I want to remind people that he's on Friday night. He's doing a charity show for the Kiwanis. His name is Gene, Gene. Last name is Dinapoli, Dinapoli. It starts at, Pat, what did he say? 8 o'clock? Hold on one second.
I thought it was 7
8
o'clock.
8 o'clock. All right, starts at 8 o'clock. It's going to be on Facebook under Dinapoli's Stone Mill Restaurant.
He didn't lose that restaurant, did he?
Yeah.
No, his uncle sold it, basically. And
he doesn't work there anymore. Yes.
Yeah, he's not there any longer, though. He's not affiliated with it
Dinapoli's, he doesn't have that restaurant anymore?
Right.
Sold it.
It was the family's restaurant, basically.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then the uncle sold it. And Gene is, doing is going to be doing other things and stuff. And then he's also on Instagram. And I want to also thank Anthony Valbiro. He shared on Facebook the other day on Mother's Day a wonderful photo with his mother, who I think he said tonight that she was 93. And then also thanks to Incredible mother. His mother is incredible and very, very creative throughout the years. Actress and everything, writer, everything, artist. And PJ Landers. And thanks very much to PJ Landers for coming. And thanks to the Facebook audience who have been watching this. So, all right. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Good luck with the doctor tomorrow, Fran.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think it's going to be all right. You know, I'm going to go about it that way. All right. Hopefully you will. Thanks for saying that.
The only way to go about it, right?
That's right. Right. Here's that thumbs up. Very good. Okay, great.
Bye, Kelly. Bye, Fran.
I'll talk to you. See you around. Be safe, everybody.
Send out the Gene flyer.
The Gene flyer, right. I don't have the Gene flyer.
Oh, you know,
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to post it. I'm making a recording of this show. I'm going to post it up to Facebook and up to YouTube. And I'll put more information in that posting about Friday. Try to tune it in. All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Kelly.
Bye.
Happy Mother.
Happy Mother. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.